The night my husband told me I was nothing without him, it was raining. Not the soft kind of rain that kisses your window and lulls you to sleep, no. This one roared. Thunder cracked through the sky, like the sound of my heart breaking. I still remember the way Michael looked at me that night, his tall frame blocking the kitchen doorway, a glass of whiskey dangling from his hand. His eyes were cold, sharp like the edge of a blade. "You think you can survive without me, Sandra?" he said, his voice calm but deadly. "Sweetheart, without me, you're nobody. You'd still be that broke waitress begging customers for tips." His words cut deeper than any knife. I stood there, holding the plate I'd just washed, water dripping from my fingers onto the marble floor. My chest felt tight, like the walls were closing in. I wanted to speak, to shout, to remind him of the nights I stayed awake helping him organize his company files, the meals I cooked when he came home too late to eat, the times I stood by him when people called him arrogant and impossible. But I couldn't speak, because deep down, a small part of me believed him. Michael was a millionaire businessman, 8 years older than me, with connections that reached everywhere: lawyers, bankers, even city officials. I was just Sandra, the girl who once waited tables at a downtown diner until he walked in one stormy evening 4 years ago. He was charming, powerful, and full of promises, and I fell for him hard. But tonight, that charm was gone. Tonight, the man I once loved looked like a stranger. When he slammed his glass on the counter, the sound made me jump. He walked closer, his cologne filling the space between us. "You can't even pay your own bills," he sneered. "You drive the car I bought, wear the clothes I paid for, live in the house I built. You wouldn't last a month without me." Something inside me broke right there. Not my heart, no. That had been cracking slowly for years. It was something deeper. My spirit. I stared at him quietly, my hands trembling, and whispered, "Maybe you're right, Michael. But one day, you'll see me walk away, and you won't believe who I'll become." He laughed a cold, mocking laugh that echoed through the room. "Don't make me laugh, Sandra. You build something on your own? You wouldn't even know where to start." And that's when I made a silent promise to myself. I would learn, I would start, and I would build. But that night wasn't the end of the fight. It was just the beginning of a war. Let me take you back to how it all started. 4 years earlier, I was working at Maggie's Diner in downtown Atlanta. It was one of those old, noisy places where the smell of coffee never fades and the bell above the door rings every 5 minutes. Michael had come in wearing a navy suit, his watch shining under the dim light. He ordered black coffee and a slice of pecan pie. I was nervous serving him. I'd never seen a man like him before. Confident, handsome, dangerous in a way I couldn't explain. When he smiled and said, "You have the kindest eyes," I melted. We talked for hours that night, about dreams, about life, about how he needed someone real. He came back the next day, then the day after that, and soon I wasn't just the waitress. I was his world, or so I thought. Within a year, we were married. He moved me into his mansion on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by tall iron gates and trimmed hedges. For a while, it felt like a dream. Shopping sprees, vacations, fancy dinners. But slowly, things began to change. The sweet man who once called me his miracle started controlling everything. He wanted to know where I was, who I called, what I wore. If I bought something without asking, he called it disrespect. If I spoke too loudly, he said, I was ungrateful. At first, I told myself he just cared too much. But then came the shouting, then the silence, then the words that still haunt me. You're nothing without me. And the worst part? He made me believe it. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain hit the windows. Michael had gone to bed after another drink, snoring softly like he hadn't just torn my world apart. Something inside me clicked. It wasn't anger, it was awakening. For the first time in years, I saw my life clearly. I had no money of my own, no job, no voice, but I had me, and I was still alive. At dawn, I got out of bed quietly, put on a sweater, and walked out onto the balcony. The city lights shimmered below, and I whispered to the cold air, "Watch me, Michael. Just watch me." That was the beginning of my secret plan, a plan that would change everything. But little did I know, someone was already watching me. The morning after that stormy night, I sat up in bed before Michael woke up. His back was turned to me, sleeping like nothing had happened. I looked around our big, beautiful room and felt empty. Everything looked perfect, yet nothing felt real. The gold curtains, the chandelier, the fancy furniture, all of it meant nothing if I wasn't happy. I whispered to myself, "Enough! I can't live like this anymore." That morning, I made coffee just for me. When Michael came downstairs, he didn't say a word. He grabbed his phone, checked some messages, and said, "Tell the maid to clean the pool. It looks dirty." I didn't answer. I just watched him leave. And in that quiet moment, I decided something had to change. After he left, I went upstairs and took out my old laptop, the one I bought years before we got married. I hadn't used it much since then. It was slow, but it worked. I opened it and started searching for online jobs. Virtual assistant, customer service, anything. I didn't care what it was. I just needed to earn something on my own. After hours of trying, I finally got a reply from a woman who owned a small jewelry store in Chicago. She needed help answering emails and managing orders. She said she'd pay $150 a week. It wasn't much, but it was mine. For the first time in years, I smiled. That evening, when Michael came home, he was laughing loudly on the phone. I heard a woman's voice in the background, soft and playful. I froze, pretending to keep setting the table. He hung up and said, "Sandra, you should start dressing better. My business partners' wives look elegant. You look plain." That word broke something in me. I excused myself and went upstairs, shut the door, and cried quietly into my pillow. I cried for the girl I used to be. I cried for the woman I'd become. And when I stopped crying, I said softly, "God, please help me find myself again." That night, I promised myself, no one would ever make me feel small again. Weeks passed. Every morning after Michael left for work, I would open my laptop and start working. I replied to customer emails, helped with orders, and learned about business and online stores. I watched free tutorials on how to build a website, market products, and handle customers. Slowly, I started feeling alive again. At night, I acted normal. I smiled at dinner, asked about his day, and played the perfect wife. But deep inside, I was building something of my own. One Friday evening, Michael came home earlier than usual. I was upstairs working on my laptop. When I heard his footsteps, I quickly closed it and sat still, pretending to read a book. He walked in. "What are you doing?" "Just reading," I said quickly. He stared at me for a few seconds, then walked out. I let out a shaky breath. That was too close. But I noticed the way he looked at me. suspicious. Like he knew something. The next morning, I got an email from my client in Chicago. It said, "Thank you for your help, Sandy, but we won't be needing your services anymore." My heart dropped. No warning, no reason. I tried replying, but the email bounced. Later that day, while cleaning the kitchen, I saw Michael's phone buzzing on the counter. A message popped up on the screen. My hands froze when I saw the sender's name, the same woman I worked for. The message read, "Hi, Mr. Harris. Thank you for contacting me. I didn't realize Sandy Lewis's was your wife. I'm sorry if I caused any problem. What is rest?" My body went numb. Michael had found out. He had contacted her. He made her fire me. Tears filled my eyes. He didn't want me to work. He didn't want me to be free. When he walked in later, I just stared at him, trying not to cry. He smiled like nothing happened. "You don't need to work, sweetheart. I can take care of you." That was the moment I realized this wasn't love. It was control. That night, while he slept beside me, I stared into the dark. I whispered to myself, "You can break my heart, Michael, but you'll never break my will." I picked up my phone and sent one message that would change my life. "Hi, I want to start my own online boutique. Can you teach me how?" A reply came a few minutes later. "Yes, but it won't be easy. Are you ready for what comes with it?" My heart was pounding as I typed back, "Yes, I'm ready." The next morning, I got a message from a woman named Lila Grant, a business coach from Texas. She wrote, "If you're serious, we start today. I'll teach you how to run an online boutique from zero, but it won't be free." I replied, "I don't have much money." She said, "Then give me your time, your focus, and your consistency. I'll guide you step by step." And that's how it began. Every morning after Michael left, I would open my laptop and connect with Lila through video calls. She taught me everything: how to find products, how to design a store, how to market online. I wrote everything down in a small notebook I hid inside one of Michael's old shoeboxes. Within 2 months, I had my own small online boutique. Nothing fancy, just a few handbags and simple jewelry pieces I bought wholesale. But when I saw my first sale notification pop up on the screen, I cried. It was only $35. But to me, it felt like $1 million. I named my boutique Sandy Spark because for the first time in a long time, I had my spark back. Every day, I worked quietly while Michael was gone. I made posts on social media, took pictures of products, and chatted with customers. Sometimes, I could hear my own heart beating whenever his car pulled into the driveway. I'd close the laptop fast, hide my notes, and pretend to be watching TV. He had no idea, or at least, I hoped he didn't. One afternoon, I heard his footsteps coming upstairs earlier than usual. My laptop was open. My heart stopped. I quickly slammed it shut, grabbed my phone, and acted like I was texting. He opened the door and said, "What are you doing?" "Just checking something online," I said quickly. He stared at me for a few seconds, then smiled. "You've been acting different lately," he said. "Different how?" "More confident," he replied. "I like that." I forced a smile and said, "Maybe I'm just happy." He leaned down, kissed my forehead, and said, "Good. I like you happy." Then he left. As soon as he walked out, I exhaled deeply. That was too close again. But that day I realized something. If I ever wanted real freedom, I couldn't just be careful. I had to be smart. Weeks went by. The store grew faster than I imagined. Orders were coming in from different states: Florida, New York, Texas. People loved the products. And some even started calling me the kind lady who replies fast. I started saving every dollar I made. By the third month, I had $2,000 in my account. It wasn't much compared to Michael's millions, but to me, it was power. For the first time, I could breathe. Lila was proud of me. "You're stronger than you think, Sandra," she said on one of our calls. "Most women in your situation give up. You didn't." Her words gave me hope. But little did I know, hope can sometimes blind you to danger. One afternoon, I got a message from a new supplier who said he could offer me cheaper jewelry pieces. He said he was referred by Lila. I trusted her. So I agreed to try. He asked for an upfront payment of $1,200 for bulk delivery. It was almost all my savings, but I believed it was a good deal. I sent the money. He promised to deliver in 3 days. 3 days passed. No delivery. I texted him. No reply. I emailed him. No answer. I called Lila. Her number wasn't connecting. Panic filled my chest. I went to the messaging app and saw something that made me go numb. Both their accounts had disappeared, blocked, deleted, gone. My $1,200 was gone too. I felt like the air was knocked out of me. I sat on the floor, holding my laptop, and cried until my head hurt. I'd trusted someone again, and I'd been fooled again. That evening, I couldn't stop crying. I didn't eat, didn't move. When Michael came home, I pretended to be asleep, but he noticed my swollen eyes the next morning. "What's wrong with you?" he asked. "Nothing," I whispered. He laughed softly. "See, that's your problem. You worry too much. If you just let me take care of you, you wouldn't have to struggle." His words burned in my chest, but instead of answering, I just nodded, because in that moment, I made a new promise to myself. If I fell, I would rise again. And this time, I would rise stronger. That night, I sat quietly on the balcony. The city lights flickered below. I whispered, "God, I don't know how to start again, but please, give me another chance." Then I picked up my phone and opened my boutique page. There were still messages from customers asking when new products would come in. Something inside me lit up again. I wiped my tears and typed a new post. "Sandy Spark is coming back stronger. Thank you for believing in me." The next morning, I got 3 messages from customers who said, "We'll wait." That small support gave me courage. I decided to start over from scratch. But just when I thought things were slowly getting better, something unexpected happened that would shake everything again. That evening, Michael called me from work and said, "Sandra, we need to talk tonight. I found something, and I think you owe me an explanation." My blood ran cold. He knew. I didn't know how much he knew, but I could feel it, the calm before the storm. The clock moved slowly that day. Every tick felt louder than usual. By the time I heard his car pull into the driveway, my stomach twisted in knots. He walked in quietly, carrying his briefcase. No smile, no words, just that cold, serious look I'd seen the night he told me I was nothing. He placed his phone on the table and said, "Sit down, Sandra." I sat, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Then he showed me something on his phone. It was a screenshot of my boutique page. Sandy Spark, my logo, my work, my dream. "Care to explain this?" he asked, his voice calm but sharp. I froze. I just wanted to do something for myself," I said quietly. "Without asking me?" "Michael, I didn't mean to hide it. I just wanted to feel..." "Feel what?" he cut in, standing up. "Independent? Important? You live in a mansion. You have everything. What else do you want? Tears filled my eyes. I want freedom. I want to be me again. He laughed cold and cruel. Freedom? You sound ungrateful. Every woman in this city would kill to be in your position, Sandra. But not you. You just want to prove a point. I stood up slowly, my voice trembling but firm. I'm not trying to prove anything, Michael. I'm trying to live. I lost myself in this marriage, and I can't keep pretending anymore. His face hardened. You're nothing without me, he said again. That same line that had once broken me. But this time, something inside me snapped. I wiped my tears, looked him straight in the eye, and said, maybe that used to be true, but not anymore. He stared at me, shocked. You've lost your mind, he said, his voice rising. No, I replied softly. I've found it. He started pacing the room, angry. You think you can run a business behind my back? You think you can survive without me? Do you even know how the world works, Sandra? I'm learning, I said quietly. He slammed his fist on the table. Learning won't pay your bills. I took a deep breath. It already has. His eyes widened. What? I told him everything about the boutique, about my sales, about how I'd been saving quietly. He was speechless for a moment, then laughed bitterly. You really think you can outsmart me? He said. You're just a woman with a laptop. Those words cut deep, but not like before. This time, I didn't feel small. I felt strong. I'm not trying to outsmart you, Michael. I'm just done being controlled. He stared at me for a long time, then said coldly, pack your things. If you want to be independent, go live like it. For a few seconds, I didn't move. Then I nodded slowly. Fine, I said. I will. That night, I packed my clothes quietly. He didn't say another word. He just watched as I zipped my suitcase and walked toward the door. When I reached the hallway, I turned around one last time. The house looked the same, but I didn't. I wasn't that broken woman anymore. I hope one day you realize, I said softly, you didn't lose your wife. You lost a woman who was ready to give you her whole heart. He didn't answer. He just turned away. I walked out into the cold night, carrying one suitcase and my laptop, the same laptop that had once reminded me of my dreams. As the gate closed behind me, I felt fear. But under that fear was something stronger, peace. For the first time in years, I was free. The next morning, I checked into a small apartment downtown. It was tiny, one bedroom, a small kitchen, and a squeaky old fan, but it was mine. I opened my laptop, stared at my boutique page, and whispered, it's just you and me now. I worked harder than ever. Days turned into weeks. Customers kept coming back. Word spread about the brave woman behind Sandy Spark. One afternoon, I got an email from a fashion blogger who wanted to feature my boutique. A few days later, orders started flooding in. Within 6 months, Sandy Spark wasn't just a small online shop anymore. It was a growing brand. And every sale, every message, every thank you reminded me that I was no longer the woman who cried in silence. A year later, I got invited to speak at a women's business event in New York. I stood on that stage, wearing a simple white suit, and told my story. When I reached the part where I said, my wealthy husband once told me I couldn't live without him. Now I've built my own empire. The whole room went quiet. Then, applause filled the air. Tears rolled down my face, but this time, they weren't from pain. They were from pride. Later that night, as I walked out of the event, a black car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down. It was Michael. He looked older, tired. Sandra, he said softly, you really did it. I nodded. Yes, I did. He gave a small, sad smile. I was wrong about you. For once, I said quietly. You're right. And with that, I walked away, not angry, not bitter, just free. Never let anyone convince you that your worth depends on them. You are capable, strong, and enough, even when the world tries to make you believe otherwise. Sometimes losing someone's approval is the price of finding your own power. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or unappreciated, remember, your worth was never meant to be defined by anyone else. Please share it with someone who needs strength today, and subscribe to our channel for more soul-touching, real-life stories that speak straight to the heart. Because every story we tell is a reminder that no matter how broken life gets, you can always rise again.